When you think of lung cancer, people who smoke are probably the first thing that come to mind. But in the United States, about 10 to 20% of all lung cancers happen in people who have never smoked a day in their life or smoke fewer than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime. With that in mind, we have a very special guest today to share her story, welcoming Julie to the podcast. Hi, Julie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you have a very impactful story to share.
I do.
You are one of these lung cancer patients. You never smoked ever.
Never.
So
Nope.
Tell me a little bit about your experience. What were you experiencing as far as symptoms goes? What led you to the doctor? What did you find out?
Okay. It started with actually a cough that wouldn't go away. And I've read that with so many other lung cancer patients, especially those diagnosed that have never smoked before. And that's the one big symptom is a cough that would never go away. So I was diagnosed in January of 2015. And the summer before that, I had been exercising and had a cold I thought was a cold and a cough that just wouldn't go away. Went to the doctor every couple months for 6 months and kept telling me it'll get better, and it never did. And until January 19th on a Sunday night, I was going to bed and started having a coughing fit and coughed up a bunch of blood, and luckily called the doctor's office first thing in the morning and got in and was given a chest x-ray and proceeded with that from that to a very quick, thankfully, diagnosis in the matter of 4 days. So that it was cancer. So I have to say I was lucky to not have it drug out like some people have where they wait weeks to get a diagnosis. I started on Monday morning and had a diagnosis by Thursday night. So.
Well, and we should say the good news up front is as of today, you're cancer-free.
I am 6 years in remission, which 5 years is the big mark, and I am 6 years into it. So, yeah, I'm very, very thankful.
Good. Well, when it comes to people who have never smoked, who are diagnosed with lung cancer, you talked about your recurring cough, and the symptoms are the same no matter whether you're a smoker or not, and that can look like frequent coughing up blood, which you did experience,
right.
Chest pain, wheezing, shortness of breath. Did you experience all these?
I did. Well, the shortness of breath really came because when I coughed up blood, that's when my lung collapsed. And so then I was really having trouble breathing. But the pain in my chest, I had some of that, and I just thought, one, I was out of shape because I was exercising. And I thought I was just really out of shape and having a hard time breathing from that. But come to find out, it was obviously a lot more than that. So after things progressed, then, the shortness of breath happened a lot because that lung wasn't operating properly and things like that. But the smaller signs before that were a little bit of chest pain and this cough. But overall, I felt fine. That's, I really didn't have a lot of just that cough that wouldn't go away was the biggest symptom. So,
and I'm looking back at the CDC here again. Out of these patients who have never smoked, secondhand smoke is a contributor to many of these. And in addition, radon is a contributor. And that's the odorless, tasteless gas that is, in Iowa, there's like a risk factor for radon. I think a lot of Iowa's in the red as far as that goes. And we have a completely separate podcast on that.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to link. But let's get back to your story here. So you mentioned coughing up the blood and you were able to get a screening and a diagnosis relatively quickly.
Yeah.
What was your outlook?
So I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer because it had metastasized to my lymph nodes, my pelvic bone, and my spine. So I had it. That was another symptom that I forgot to mention, actually, was I was having, I thought it was a sciatic nerve. And so I was seeing the chiropractor, no correlation that I thought to any of this together until they did the CT scan and found that there was it had metastasized further along than I had ever imagined. So that's what put it into stage 4, which the prognosis for recovery from stage 4 is like 5% or less. So my outlook was very bleak, to be honest. So I, they immediately went into radiation and started radiation treatment on my pelvic bone, and then went into chemotherapy for some time till it quit working. And then immunotherapy, which was brand new back then. This was in 2015. So immunotherapy was just coming out. Opdivo was one of them, that the drugs that is very popular now and working very successfully with other cancers as well. So I was very lucky to be on that, and was on that for about 8 months. And then when that stopped working, went into targeted therapy, which was also brand new at the time. My doctor, Dr. Masri from the Cancer Center here in Waterloo, it was in, I can remember it very well. It was in March of 2016, and said, I was at a seminar in Chicago, and there's a new drug. It was just FDA approved in December, and it's seeing great signs for lung cancer, and I think we need to try it. And so we did. However, that drug gave me a lot of side effects, which I couldn't do. So we tried another drug that seemed to be fine. So in the summer of 2016 was when I first had my first clear cancer diagnosis, that targeted drug is what really killed all the cancer left in my body. But in July, that was in July. In August of that same year, a month later, I went into liver failure. So it was great. The cancer was gone, but this secondary issue nearly killed me too. So I have lots of reasons to be thankful to be here today. But I'm one of the very few, to be honest, of people who I've talked to, and I've mentored other cancer patients in my journey that are not on a everyday regimen of a drug to keep it at bay. I don't take anything. I haven't taken anything in 6 years, and it's not, knock on wood, come back. A lot of people do take a drug just to keep it at bay, and I'm thankful I'm not doing that. But I've, fully recovered from that liver failure, which took about a year. So, lots happened in that little journey, but I'm very thankful to be here and to be doing this podcast, to be honest with you. Yeah. So, it was a lot. It was a long journey.
So that drug that you were taking was very new at the time.
Yes.
What's it like now? Do you know?
There was only two of those drugs at the time. You have to be tested for gene mutations and things like that in order to be approved for these drugs. So it's a special mock-up in your DNA. So the ones that I took, I think there's 2 new ones out since I was in treatment. But I think they're along the same drug line. So I don't know if that ever came back down to it. I don't think I'd be able to take those again. So they're always coming out. It's amazing how much has come out even since then. So new targeted drugs is really the newest upcoming amazing treatment in cancer. So it's great that they're just coming out with new things all the time. So
now you're sharing your story, just to kind of let people know that this happens to anybody.
Everyday people. Yeah, I would never. I was 44, 2 younger kids, and that was the furthest possible thing from my mind that I would ever have thought would happen to me. So it's frustrating to hear when people say, "Oh, you must have smoked," and I'm like, "No," and not. If you have, the one big thing is everybody says if you have lungs, you can get lung cancer. It's not, as smokers. Obviously smoking contributes to that. And that's a given, but, anybody can get this. And I never thought it would be me either, but it happens. So.
Yeah, air pollution is another thing that when you read about people that haven't smoked that are being diagnosed, air pollution is in there as well with in a trio of secondhand smoke and radon. Then there's the air pollution.
Right.
But your main takeaway that you want for people that listen to this, what would that be?
Don't ignore your symptoms. That is my biggest thing. I did the right thing. I went to the doctor, but I kept going back to the doctor. I kept asking him, and there really was no reason for him to think anything like this would have happened. It's just very uncommon to me. But don't give up. Don't let it go. Always just keep following up. And if you know something's not right, be your own advocate. Like, don't let somebody talk you out of it. If you think you need to get another opinion just to make sure, don't hesitate to do that, because it makes me wonder if I had further tests done at the beginning when it wasn't getting any better. That was the whole 6 months that this was growing, and it could have been even longer for all I know. But that's when I really started seeing the symptoms, and my back pain that I was having again was another symptom. And it just wouldn't go away with anything I was trying to do. So if it's something that doesn't get any better, fight for yourself. Keep going back and demand some answers.
I think that's especially important just because, for example, the United States Preventive Services Task Force, if you're not a smoker, it's not recommended you get regular lung cancer screening. So if you are experiencing these types of symptoms that we talked about, even more important that you need to be your own advocate.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So
we've talked a lot about, how lung cancer really gets associated with smokers, and there are other cancers, and certainly not to take anything away from them, but for example, breast cancer. Everything turns pink on TV, and everywhere you go, there's pink ribbon runs, and I don't know if there's a lung cancer run or 5K or anything like that, but I think that's another job that we're trying to do here today, is just bring more attention to these other cancers that people do battle.
Right. And I appreciate that, because, every cancer is important, don't get me wrong. And I'm sure everybody who has been affiliated with any other type of cancer would love more publicity about their specific cancer and more research. And but it's a little frustrating, because I do see so much pink, and it's great for that fund, and it makes so much money. But I love the fact that we're shedding some more light on another cancer that doesn't get the publicity, because it is very important. And unfortunately, with lung cancer, it most of the time gets diagnosed too late, and that's part of the problem too. Is it's late in the stages, and the treatment might not be there for. I'm very lucky. I really am, and I know that. But a lot of other people are not. And this cancer has one of the higher death rates as well, with breast cancer and colon cancer combined. So it's very deadly. And I just feel the more people who can understand what type of symptoms there are, what to watch for, to really go out there and make sure that you're getting checked and treated for that, will hopefully save lives and down the road. And, it's so important to get more awareness out there and get the funding for more treatment.
And I think in speaking to a few different people that have shared cancer stories throughout this podcast, I think everyone would kind of agree with what you're saying is, everybody's story is important.
Sure.
And everybody would agree that no matter what cancer it is, screening is important. Staying on top of it is important, because the fight is only easier the earlier you catch it, no matter what it is.
Right. It's hard. Yeah. It's just the more focus that you can get on it, though, hopefully the more knowledge people have and can catch it early, and longer they'll live too.
Sure. So you actually are a MercyOne colleague. You're my office neighbor.
I am.
So I wanted to ask you, because of this journey and your work with the Cancer Center and things, did that lead you to a career in healthcare? Because you're here today.
I am. And it actually, I wasn't looking for a career per se, because actually when I came here, I was not ready to go back to work. But I needed something to do, because I was tired of being at home, so I looked to volunteer. So I came here and decided I wanted to first actually start volunteering at the Cancer Center. I wanted to give back to the Cancer Center. But when I started doing that, I found it was just a little too much for me. So I worked with the volunteer manager here at the time and moved to a different position within the hospital. And so I stayed up there for a while, did surgical waiting and as a volunteer for about a year, and became good friends with the volunteer manager. And there was a position that opened up here, and she encouraged me to apply. And then I became an employee. I started part-time and then kind of went to full-time as the coordinator. And now 4 years later, here I am, the volunteer manager. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, so let's put on that recruitment hat here for a second.
Absolutely.
I think we really need to talk just a little bit about the important role that volunteers play at hospitals. There are hundreds.
Yes.
Depending on, what facility you're at. But here, what's the number here?
Well, right now it's really dropped because of COVID. So we are down to about 250, which we were up over 600 prior to COVID. So we lost quite a few volunteers, which is understandable. They are so important here. We have them in so many different departments. They help with patient advocacy, which helps patients by just helping them get a glass of cold water, a warm blanket, just talking to them, asking how their day was, if there's anything they could do for them, to surgical waiting volunteers that help the patients' families while they're waiting for their loved ones to come out of surgery. It could be information desk, gift shop. There's just various different types of positions throughout the hospital. And without them, it just adds more workload to the staff. Not that we're taking away from their jobs, but it's just helping them to focus on other things that they need to focus on. So we love our volunteers. We need more volunteers and would love to have anyone come in here and help. There's lots of various different positions they could look at.
I've met quite a few of our volunteers that we have here, and I know that when we think about the people that are recruited, it's often people who have retired and they just need something to help fill out their week. But
right.
I mean, I think you've got a very good story to share. You're not anywhere close to retiring, I don't think.
No,
anyway.
no.
But so what are really, there's a big age range of people that
Absolutely.
could volunteer if they're interested.
Yeah, we have high school students. We work with all the local high schools and bring students in that come in and volunteer. We've got UNI students, Wartburg College, lots of college students, especially who are interested in going into the medical field. It's a great opportunity for them to get a really good look at inside the hospital. And then anybody they may not work and just want some extra time, and then especially volunteers who are retired that definitely just need something to do. So lots of various age groups.
And we're recording this at MercyOne Waterloo Medical Center, but that would be true of any of our hospitals across
Absolutely.
The entire MercyOne organization. Always looking for volunteers.
Yes.
Opportunities all across the hospital, no matter if you're high school or retired or just need something while you can't work.
Right. And we're, so flexible too that you could volunteer as much or as little as you want to. We also accommodate with schedules with snowbirds that go away for the winter, college students that just come home for winter breaks and summer breaks. So, we're really flexible as far as working with everyone to fit their schedule. So,
well, no matter where you live, if that's something that you're interested to do, volunteering, whether it be just to have something to do or whether you are somebody who's interested in a career in the medical field, if you head to our website and just do a search for the word volunteer, I'm sure opportunities will pop up no matter where you live across our state. So.
Yep.
Julie, it's been great to have you on the
Thank
podcast,
you.
and just want to say thanks for sharing your story.
Well, I appreciate you asking me to do it. It really means a lot to me to get the word out about lung cancer, and so I really appreciate you asking me to do this.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that we should touch on before we wrap it up?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, sounds good. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and we'll make sure if you have any feedback about this episode or an experience you'd like to share, go to our website, mercyone.org/podcast. There's a form you can fill out and enter your comments there. You can also send us an email at podcast@mercyhealth.com. Julie, once again, thanks.
Thank you.